It's about time, a new distillery that has a cool story behind it and cool owners. This is Old Line. Welcome to the Whiskey Dictionary. Mark McLaughlin and Arch Watkins met in the Navy while they were flying EA-6B Prowlers, and these are electronic warfare aircraft that are designed to jam enemy radar systems. After a decade of flying off of aircraft carriers and traveling the world, they ended up in Baltimore, where they also ended up being neighbors. Now, the daily grind kind of wasn't for them, which is understandable given their history, and after they realized each other's love of whiskey, they decided to start a distillery together. Now, I love this sentiment because I could totally tell you I've had the same conversation with some friends of mine, and I'm sure that you have as well. In 2015, Mark quit his job, and then he went to Seattle for a conference to learn how to even go about making whiskey. This is where he met Bob Stilnovich, who was a owner of a distillery called Golden Distilling, and he was looking to sell. Now, this was not quite in line with what Mark was looking for, as this was an American Single Malt Distillery, but he didn't say no. So in 2016, Mark and Arch ended up going to Samish Bay, Maryland to spend time with Bob living in his guest house and learning how to make whiskey. And they would do it 6 days a week. On Fridays, they'd be bottling whiskey that was all ready, and then on Saturdays, people would be driving from all over, and the shelves would sell out within the day. They spent the next year and a half opening up a new distillery in Baltimore, so everything that they've been making in Ohio ends up going back to the place in Baltimore for aging and whatnot, but it is going to be different what you can typically buy off the shelf versus this. Now, this is still going to be on the shelves, and that's why I'm bothering to review it. But if you look at the back of the bottle, it's going to say distilled in Ohio, aged and bottled by Old Line Spirits, Baltimore, Maryland. And that's totally fine. It's an extremely common practice, so it's nothing to really be worried about. Just know that because of microbiomes, this is going to be different. Just slightly. But I'm actually very excited, knowing what I think about this, to try their new stuff. And we'll talk about that in just a sec. But there's one little thing I want to still talk about. So Old Line. Old Line is a nickname for the state of Maryland. It's the Old Line State. And this goes back all the way to General George Washington, where he basically considered the Maryland troops during the Revolutionary War to be part of the military line, and they were called the Old Line. And they, fought in many battles. I'm sure they were extremely brave, et cetera, but that's why it's called Old Line. It's a nod to the military back in the Revolutionary War in Maryland. Old Line has many bottles. There's this one right here, the Old Line 86, as well as a cask strength version of it. Then they have a couple of new bottles that are just hitting the shelves now, called the Flagship 95 and then the Navy Strength 114. Now, I couldn't find any significance to either one of those numbers. The proof points seem a little strange to me, and I was wondering if it was like the name of the aircraft carrier that they were on or something like that. But I looked up 114 and it's a destroyer, so I don't think it has anything to do with that, but maybe it does. I don't know. One of the coolest things about small distilleries is that they often go crazy with their different finishes or stuff that they do. And add on to the fact that it's an American single malt, and you're gonna get all kinds of stuff. So they have a variety, a huge range, and I just gotta read these off. Sauternes finish, Madeira finish, port finish, Oloroso sherry finish, Caribbean rum finish, cognac finish, and Armagnac finish, which is just a crazy amount. It's like all the finishes. So let's talk about the 86, because I've already gone on and on about this, and I gotta tell you, it smells really good. I just wanna kind of jump into this. Now that you know about the history, you know that there's 100% malted barley, it's 43%, and it's charred new white oak casks. So let's go ahead and see how it smells. Well, it smells really good. But here's the thing. I don't have a ton of experience with American single malts, but I do have plenty of experience with whiskey in general, clearly, right? So when I smell an American single malt, they all have a couple of key factors, similar to bourbons, right? Like every bourbon smell, or most bourbons, smell like caramel, vanilla, and oak, and then stuff. This American single malt, almost all of them smell malty, and then they have caramel, and then maybe some oak. But there's also this hint that you kind of get in newer rye, like really low aged rye, that I usually get on American single malt as well. But as far as what I'm actually smelling in this, aside from just malt, so let's try that again. Caramel, sorry, honey. We're getting honey, we're getting vanilla. The malt itself is actually fairly heavy, so it's taking a lot of what you're smelling. But it is smelling pretty smooth. It doesn't smell, it's only 43%, but it also doesn't smell like alcohol. So the barrel's doing its job, and the fact that it's a brand new charred oak barrel is definitely lending itself to the smoothness here with presumably a fairly low age. Now, the other thing that I'm getting here is a fairly sweet, syrupy smell, which when I first smelled this, I was like, you know what? That almost smells like Jack Daniels. And I smelled a bottle of Jack Daniels, and Jack is definitely like way lighter, but it's in the same vein. But then I kind of realized I think it's actually more of a Coca-Cola smell, and the fact that I just drink way too many Jack and Cokes, even still to this day, it's like my guilty pleasure. And I just associate the smell of Coca-Cola with the smell of Jack Daniels. So I'm gonna say this smells a bit syrupy like a cola. And it's not a bad thing, it smells really good actually. All right, let's go ahead and have a taste. Cheers. Now this is where Old Line shines. It tastes really, really good. It does not have the burn of alcohol. It is just very, very smooth, like more than it has any right to be, especially knowing it's a no age statement. It has, yes, been in a brand new white oak barrel that's been charred, so it's going to get all of the advantages of being smoothed out by a brand new barrel, but it's still done a very good job. Now here's where it's cool though, is that this whiskey itself is very oily, it's very viscous, it's very heavy, it's very full-bodied. That makes it drink like it's a higher ABV than it typically is. Not that it'll like get you drunk or anything, but more, I mean it will, but not that it'll get you drunk quicker. It's more that it drinks like something that was bottled at a higher ABV in that it has a lot more body. Like, I hope that was clear. Probably was. So when you drink this as well, some of the flavors that you're getting, let's just start off with the easy ones and then I'll have another sip. So I've come to learn with American Single Malts that they are either very light on the malt or very heavy on the malt. And this one is leaning more towards that heavy, but I'm attributing a lot of that to that viscousness, to the heavier flavors. As far as actual flavors, you're getting some of the influence from the barrel. You're getting vanilla, you're getting caramel for sure. The malt is definitely the star here. Let's have another sip. Now, what else I'm picking up here is, and this is an interesting thing, with that Coca-Cola that I mentioned, there is definitely like a syrupy sweet flavor that is transitioning from a cola flavor into a blackberry flavor. Not black cherry, blackberry. And there's also, I guess, a bit of honey going on as well. But here's the thing, the finish is very short. And because of that, this is clever. I can't imagine they did this on purpose. I just can't. But when you drink this, at least in my mind, it's, oh, that's really good. Oh, that tastes really interesting. Oh, the finish is over. I should have another sip. And that's exactly how I reacted to this the first time I tried it, and it's how I'm reacting to it now. I want to just kind of keep having this. And I want to sit in front of the TV and I want to pour like 3 or 4 of these because I forget that I'm drinking it because it's so nice and smooth and enjoyable that I'm just gonna sit on the couch and get drunk and all of a sudden find, like, I don't know, The Big Bang Theory funny or something like that. So anyway, let's talk about overall. With the Old Line here, very clearly I like this, but I also want to give it a fair recommendation. This bottle's not very findable right now because it's gonna start running out. There's plenty of them out there, but I don't know when you're gonna watch this video. So if you're watching this a year from now, this might not be available anymore. If you are watching this somewhat timely, you should go try to find this. It's available in pretty much every New England state. It's oddly enough available in Colorado as well, but also you can order it off their website. So if you're interested, this is gonna be about $40. Yes, you might have to pay some shipping, but this one's really good and it might be worth paying that shipping for. I'm very excited to see what they do with their 95 and 114, and I'm very hopeful, I keep saying very, I am extremely hopeful that they can keep up the quality of this with the stuff that they're making personally, and if they can, Old Line is going to be a gem, like a total winner as far as I'm concerned. American Single Malt is such an exciting category, and they are doing cool stuff with it. So, 2 more things I want to mention. Number 1 is, I haven't heard back from them yet. I literally emailed them today. But I'm thinking about maybe doing a single barrel with them. They do have a program. I'm excited to try what they have and see if it's worth it. So keep an eye out for that. But if you want to see what I have available now, you can go to whiskeydickpics.com, URL there, and go see what I have right now. I have a barrel and a what is it called? Starward up there as well. And both of them are delicious. You're going to love them both. All right. So aside from that, I guess that's it. I'm going to be doing the vertical for the Redbreast next week. So you should really look forward to that. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. All right. Have a great rest of your night, everybody. Go buy some Old Line and cheers. And I do want to just say thanks to my friend Gary for lending me the bottle to do the review. I was at a party at his house and he was like, hey Bill, I have something that you probably haven't tried before. And we tried it together and I was like, holy crap, I got to try this on the channel. So thank you, Gary, for lending me the bottle. Probably a little bit more empty than you gave it to me, but you know, that's to be expected. And you're welcome to come over and help me drain some of these bottles too.